Hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Alright, after the national championship game last night, I'm going to do a quick video on some of the orbit motion, return motion, and jerk motions that Alabama used last night and Coach Sarkisian used to get some of his guys in space. So make sure you check out some of our sponsors. Alright, Dome Hats, the headwear company that we use to play fast football in the current high school I'm at. Customize your own hat with their online hat builder. You can change the style, change the colors, change obviously your logo on the front, change embroidery you can put on the side. You can have a Velcro back, a snap back, a fitted back. Every hat has a story. Make sure you're using Dome to help you tell your hat story. Baker Sporting Goods, which provides all of our spirit packs for our players, our under uniform gear. Our uniforms come distributed from Baker Sporting Goods. My coach's gear comes from there, and then any online fan stores that we build through Baker Sporting Goods. Check them out. Just Play Football, a powerful way to present information to your players. All right, you can get your players to start studying the playbook and the game plan a little bit better. Interactive quizzes that help you understand what your players know about the game plan and the playbook. It's the best play drawing tool on the market, in my opinion. I use it when I'm going to speak at clinics, do webinars, or do information on my Patreon site. I always use Just Play to diagram my plays, so make sure you check them out. GameStrat, the sideline replay system that we use. If you're looking for a highly reliable, highly affordable sideline replay system, check out GameStrat. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. We have one in our weight room in the off-season that we use. Get thousands of reps without needing a partner. Elbows in, thumbs up, eyes in the proper place, coming out of your stance with your hips, being able to roll your hips and be explosive. Make sure you check out DifferenceUSA. HighandTight ball security training aid we use. All right, where it has sensors in the panels. You have to hold the ball with the proper points of pressure, wrist above elbow, tight up to the chest. When you hold the ball with the proper points of pressure, you will hear an auditory beep. If you do not hear the beep, you're holding the ball wrong, so you get instant and immediate feedback. So make sure you check out HighandTight. So last night, national championship game, Alabama, obviously Alabama wins the game, national champions. So as an Alabama fan, I'm happy. Back to work today, like I told everybody else, regardless of the results of the game. I have to go to work the next day. I am an Alabama fan, but I have no economic or any other vested interest in it that way. I'm just a fan, been a fan my whole life. So what the narrative out there that I get a little bit disappointed with sometimes is, the 5-star quarterback throws it to the 5-star receiver, hands it off to the 5-star running back behind the 5-star lineman. Yes, Alabama has some really good players. Yes, they probably had some of the best players in the nation. All right, last year they lost in the playoff game, so those same 4-star, 5-star players lost in the playoff game. They've lost in the college football playoff twice. I believe Clemson both times. So those 4- and 5-star players have been beat before. You can't make it like they just line up with those players and play against mediocre talent and just hand the ball off into loaded boxes and throw balls to one-on-one guys that are in press coverage, or to jump balls to people, or screens to people that are unblocked 2 yards away. All right, the other team, Ohio State, has a lot of great players. They have 4- and 5-star players. Notre Dame has 4- and 5-star players. The major college football programs that are competing for national championships have 5-star players also. So, the narrative that's all they do is a little bit ridiculous, because what Coach Sarkisian did last night as an offensive coordinator to put his guys in position, when you have the Heisman Trophy winner, other teams are probably going to try and scheme to take him out of the game. How are you going to use some other players, and how are you going to move him around to get him the ball? And to me, not only did Coach Sarkisian do a phenomenal job with his game plan and play calling last night, he did it in ways that I think we can do in high school. He did it using motions you see a lot in high school, and he did it with throws that just about every high school quarterback can make. If we can block those things, maybe we don't have somebody as electric as Devontae Smith or Najee Harris, but or the other wide receivers for Alabama, but he was putting guys in space with 8 to 10 yards of opportunity to do things with the football before the nearest defender came around, and then he built things off those motions, all right, to take advantage of the coverages that he was seeing. So you'll see my sticky notes over here, because those are the 5 plays that I want to make sure that I go through. All right, so first one I'm going to look at is he used in almost an old-fashioned wing tee type or flexbone type deal. He used a very short orbit motion at the snap of the ball, all right, and then he turned that into a return motion. So they got into their 11 personnel, 20 personnel, all right, Y-off, sniffer look, whatever you want to consider it. It was more of a sniffer look on this play. They ran a play-action pass fake where they turned the center away, and they used the sniffer to block the inside backer away from the center's turn, so they had 6 in protection. All right, they came with a fake to Najee Harris here, so he was able to be 7 in protection for any edge pressure or any other unaccounted blitzes. And then from the tight end position, or the tight slot position, 19 Billingsley. All right, and then I think it was Mechie on the other side. They ran their pylon concept that Sark has scored on a bunch of times this year, where they ran one receiver through into the back pylon. They ran another receiver through into the back pylon. But the change this time was they took Devontae Smith, and right before the snap, he came in very fast, short orbit motion. All right, when the ball got snapped, he was in orbit motion running this way. At the snap, he planted and came back to run a flare on this side. For whatever reason, whether it's knowing the coverages, knowing what you're going to get, okay, the cornerback tried to trail the orbit, so when he went in orbit, the quarterback tried to trail it. The safety and the apex, for whatever reason, followed and covered that pylon route. All right, so then this corner, when he tried to travel with the orbit, when Devontae Smith put his foot in the ground and came back, this corner had to redirect and run, and it's now Devontae Smith from the 10-yard line running to about 8 to 10 yards of grass that Sarkisian created with the formation, the route concept, the play action, and the short orbit motion. All right, he created that. Did he have to get the right coverage? Did he know the coverage? Yes, I agree. Did this overhang necessarily have to run with the front pylon route? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, he got the ball to his best player in space with a corner chasing from inside out because of that return orbit motion. So that was one of the first things they did. Short, quick orbit to return, all right, motion to throw the bubble to Devontae Smith. All right, then the next thing they did was they came out in a trips kind of X over formation. So they came out in a trips formation with the slot and the Z or the X on the ball. The backside receiver was off the ball. All right, they had a one-back set in the pistol. And then I believe, let me just take a look where it is. Okay, so I believe Ohio State was in some type of possible, let me do it this way, some type of possible 3 buzz or some type of rotation this way. All right, they definitely had a deep middle of the field player. All right, and then they had another corner over here, and then they had somebody rotate it down right there. So Alabama brought this flat motion here, orbit, all right? So it wasn't jet in front of the quarterback, it was behind the quarterback, so I would kind of call that more orbit-like. And then it ran to a flare on this side. The front two set up like they were going to block some type of quick screen. Okay, this tight end tried to release and get across. They blocked a pull boot scheme, so they hinged. They blocked these 3 guys down. They pulled the guard to seal. They went tailback fake here, quarterback boot, and then the tailback ran wheel. Okay, so what they did was they came with orbit motion. They showed you the eye candy of the orbit flat screen. They then gave stretch away from the orbit fake into a boot, at which point the quarterback set up and threw the wheel backside. Just so happened they caught Ohio State in some type of pressure deal where this guy came off the edge. Why there was no overhang, apex, 2 seam, whatever the coverage was, if it was 3 under 3 deep, man free. Why there was nobody responsible for the tailback, I don't know. Was it a bust on Ohio State? I don't know. But the idea was Alabama came with, all right, some type of unbalanced trips, X on or X over, however you want to look at it. Backside receiver off, orbit behind the quarterback and in front of the tailback in the pistol. So not jet motion, flat orbit, flat bubble screen there, set up to look like bubble. Pull the guard to make it look like a boot scheme. Action, boot, set up, throw the wheel back for a touchdown to Najee Harris. Okay, so again, off of the kind of orbit into bubble push screen, however you want to look at it. Okay, set up that way off of that motion. Okay, the next one, all right, the next one that they used out of a kind of a trips wing set where they went trips with a wing. Devontae Smith, all right, was here, and they were single back split there. All right, again, I think Ohio State, again, haven't watched all 22 replays, haven't watched 1,000 replays. These are just kind of from, in my mind, all right, the plays, how I saw them, how I watched some of the highlights. So you were getting some version. All right, for some reason, this was down near the goal line, and Ohio State matched kind of their nickel and their other safety, so they had a kind of a nickel here and a safety here, matching the tight end and a wing, almost like a man-free deal with a corner there, free safety there. All right, so what Alabama did was Alabama brought Devontae Smith in what I would call jerk motion. Okay, so they brought him across flat from here. So he came all the way across flat. Recognized, and again, it was inside the 8-yard, 10-yard line, so they probably thought they were going to get some type of man coverage. Corner starts to run with it. Okay, Devontae Smith then comes back, and he makes it like he's going to return back to this side, and then he turns and comes full speed back to the original side of the motion. So again, Devontae Smith comes flat, more like jet motion across, stops and comes back like he's going to return to the same side he aligned on, and then sprints full speed to the flat. Okay, they left all the linemen and the backside tight end in. This backside wing tried to give them another option. All right, almost like a flood concept with a deep comeback route, a drag route, and an under route. Najee Harris led, sprint out from the 8-yard line. The motion, all right, the man concept, the corner followed the motion. It stopped and came back, so the corner stopped to come back, and then it returned full speed, and the corner can't get there, and now you've got Devontae Smith in the flat, all right, taking advantage of the man scheme, using the jerk flat motion, not the backwards orbit motion. He came across, all right, and the best I could describe this in this area, he came across flat, stopped, returned back to this side, then came back full speed, which made the man corner follow him inside, retrace because he thinks he's coming back, and then sprint to have to catch him to the front side. All right, so that's how they used the flatter jerk motion inside the red zone or inside the tight red zone down by the goal line to get the sprint out concept, and they didn't run it like a pick. They ran it almost like a flood with a deeper comeback or a deeper route, a drag, and then the flat route. All right, and that's how they scored another touchdown, okay, off of that jerk motion. All right, and then down in the red zone again. All right, this time not to the 5-star Heisman Trophy winner. Okay, not to the 5-star Heisman Trophy winner. This time they went with some type of deal that was wide-off trips, and it was actually into the short side of the field. And again, whether they knew the matchups they were going to get or they knew how Ohio State was going to try and defend some of these things, even into the boundary, they drew a backside player, so almost like a buzzed or strong rotated 3-deep coverage into the boundary. But the deal was they were drawing these looks, but then they were getting man principles. So what they did now is they took the number 1, who was kind of tight stacked behind the number 2. They brought him in orbit motion behind. Okay? They left the number 1 on the front side of the block. They then ran stretch or wide zone to the front side. All right? And then they stalked the corner and they pushed Slade Bolden, who I don't believe Slade Bolden was a 5-star recruit, and he's not the Heisman Trophy winner. All right, they brought Slade Bolden in orbit motion, and then off of what Mac Jones is looking at, so it's RPO, but it could be more based on numbers coverage. Once he sees the corner following this here, and he likes the matchup he's getting, he doesn't have an overhang week. He sees them chasing it man-to-man, so Ohio State matched numbers into the boundary. So he doesn't like the stretch play, even though they probably could have got this all blocked. Once the corner left and chased, they probably could have got the wide zone play blocked, all right, and numbers. But once he saw no overhang weak, and he sees that they're chasing it man, Mac Jones just pulls and throws the bubble screen, all right, to Slade Bolden, who then has 10 yards of room to the pylon and scores a touchdown just about untouched to the pylon. So creating from the orbit motion again to the bubble screen off of wide zone action, creating a play to the field, catching a team in man, the corner trails it in man, and now you get a guy to the field side running full speed on the orbit motion bubble, all right, and that corner's got to chase him down. They got one good block here on the stalk, all right, and that guy runs into the end zone almost untouched, or he gets to the pylon almost untouched, creating the same type of numbers, grass, and angles off of, all right, orbit motion. So just from their Y-off, kind of trips, look into the boundary, orbit to the field, wide zone into the boundary, and now run, whether it's pre-snap and the quarterback can choose it, or it's post-snap with a mesh. I think it can be done either way. The only thing I would worry about, post-snap, is the end back here was unblocked. So that's probably something that Mac Jones has to throw with no mesh, or he has to give, because with the end unblocked, unlike a second-level player unblocked, I think the end, if he were to get in here and you tried to mesh, he could make that an issue. So it's probably more of a rotational coverage deal, no weak overhang. Getting man-to-man, you know the bubble, the orbit bubble screen or the orbit push screen, you know it's now man-to-man with a guy chasing from inside out. So it's probably more I would say, pre-snap leverage deal than it is a post-snap meshed RPO deal, okay? But very simple play off of one of their base runs, all right? Stretch, wide zone, sorry, not stretch, probably wide zone, to the boundary, to the Y off, with the orbit screen the other way. All right, the very last thing they did was they got into empty. So they got into empty, 3 by 1 out here. Tailback Najee Harris as the outside receiver there. Drew a linebacker on Najee Harris. All right, drew 2 safeties on their receivers here with a post player down the middle. All right, what they then did was they took Najee Harris in full speed orbit motion and pushed him out to the bubble screen flare again. Okay, blocked it. Big on big or half turn up front with the center responsible for the mic. On the front side, what they did was they ran post by 1. 2 actually ran a return middle screen. So 2 actually released 3 steps up the field and returned to run middle screen. 3 actually rubbed himself off of 2 wide and on a wheel. All right, so out here, the action you had was you had empty, orbit, push screen, with a tunnel return look and a rub wheel look with a post taking out the corner. So they cleared the corner out, all right, with the post or the deep third route there. They attracted some eyes to the bubble screen. So these 2 safeties that were probably playing some type of match off of 2 and 3, they now saw bubble and return screen. The will linebacker tried to match it and run with that, all right, and then Mac Jones ended up throwing the wheel route for about a 30-yard gain. All right, and again, a throw that most high school quarterbacks can make. He didn't throw it 60 yards down the field. All right, the return screen came back. The rub happened here. The corner went with the post, and he threw the wheel route about 20 yards down the field to John Mechie. And then on the backside, subsequently, they ran dig or a hunt route just in case there's nothing there. So Mac Jones probably has progressions that he has to make where he can go with the ball. But it was all off the same orbit now from empty. Okay, so they were getting to all these plays from orbit, return off orbit, jerk off of flat motion, all right, to mess with man-to-man teams, okay, and then they did it from a 2-back or a Y offset. They did it from an empty set, and then they did it from 2 different trip sets. They did it from 1 trips X-over type of set where the backside single receiver was off the ball, and then they did it from a trips nasty split or 12 personnel trips with Devontae Smith to the trips, but a tight end and an attached wing to the trip side. All right, so they did it from 3 different formations. They did it with orbit motion, orbit return motion, and then the flat jerk motion. And they found a way to get their best players the ball. And when you watch those plays, or if you go back and you watch, most of the time they got those guys the ball, there wasn't a defender with 8 to 10 yards. Whether it was the jerk motion flat route to the pylon for a touchdown on sprint out, whether it was the return orbit motion on the first touchdown to Devontae Smith, whether it was the bubble by Slade Bolden on the wide zone, all right, possible RPO, don't know pre-snap, post-snap, but possible RPO look, wide zone to the boundary, bubble to the field. They got these guys the ball, and they got their best players the ball, including a not 5-star recruit, because I don't think, obviously he's a great player, Slade Bolden, but I don't think he's a 5-star. Or he might have been. If he was, then I apologize to anybody on the video, but he's not Devontae Smith, he's not the Heisman Trophy winner. They found a way to get the ball to their guys in a lot of space. They manipulated the defense with simple motions. And in my opinion, the best thing about it was they did it with throws that all of our kids can make. I have quarterbacks at my school that can make every one of those throws if the reads are right. I think the motion part, especially the jerk motion and the orbit return, I think that's tougher to teach than the actual throws that were being made. All right, you had a sprint out flat throw that traveled about 12 yards. You had a return bubble that traveled about 10 yards. You had a push bubble off of wide zone that traveled about 8 to 10 yards. All right, and then you had the wheel route that traveled maybe 20 yards. So of all those throws, all right, the wheel to Najee Harris off the boot for a touchdown probably traveled 20 to 25 yards. The wheel route off the empty 3x2 orbit motion of Najee Harris, that ball probably traveled 20 to 25 yards. But none of these balls went 50 yards down the field. None of them were digs or 22-yard hunt routes with a 7-step drop over the middle of the field thrown on a laser beam. They were all plays that Mac Jones understands how to read. He understands his progressions. He understands ball placement on the bubble screens, how to put it on the front end, how to put a touchable, a catchable ball with touch to a receiver that's running full speed in a certain place that he can catch. It's not behind him. He doesn't have to turn. On the sprint out, he understood how to take 3 steps. It's there. It's a man look. Get it out of your hand in the flat, front hand. So his ball placement was phenomenal. All right, their protection was phenomenal. But the scheme of how they got those guys open to me, they don't get enough credit for, and Coach Sarkisian doesn't get enough credit for. It was an unbelievable scheme, a great way to attack, and obviously last night it ended up being flawless. Whatever Ohio State tried to do on defense, last night didn't work. It is what it is. All right, congrats to both teams for being there, both fan bases. If you're an Ohio State fan, still a great season. If you're an Alabama fan like I am, all right, got the means to an end, got back to where, where our expectation is now, and still had some great seasons the last couple of years, but for Saban and Alabama, it's not complete unless you win it all. So for the rest of us, it's back to work today. It's back to work for me. It's back to doing videos. It's back to after-school workouts and everything else. So we're going to have to wait another year for college football. We got through it 2020, got through it with COVID-19 and everything else, made it through, had a championship game, had a playoff system, had some bowl games. So now we're into the offseason. It's time to evaluate your schemes, go out and learn some information, figure out what you need to do to make your program better. All right, so I appreciate everything you guys do for PlayFast. I appreciate everything you do for me. Click that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you know when I do videos or I go on YouTube Live. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you like this or don't like it. All right, it lets me know what I need to do different or I need to do better or different information or topics. All right, always leave me a comment in the comment section. If I can see it, I'll respond to it. Sometimes if it's a good enough topic, I'll do a video if you ask me to do a video on a certain topic if I can speak on it. So make sure you do that. So again, thanks for the interaction. Thanks for following what we do. All right, hope you're off to a great start this new year. Hope you're off season or if you're getting ready to play. Hope everything works out for you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember, you won't play well till you play fast, and I'll see you next time.